You make this rather snappy, won't you? I have some very heavy thinking to do before 10 o'clock.
Good evening and welcome into Greeny Sports Cards Live, the world's first multi-stream broadcast for the hobby industry. I am your co-host for the festivities this evening, Jeremy Levine, broadcasting out of Northeast Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio, adjacent to Twinsburg, the worldwide headquarters of Greeny Sports Cards. And we will welcome in Steve Greenberg, aka Greeny, my fellow co-host for this show, which we do every Tuesday night from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Live, where we bring you athletes and influencers and coaches and hobby enthusiasts and show producers, and we get to tell stories from the hobby itself, as well as bring you hobby news and insight from the world of the hobby industry. And let's get into it tonight. We got a packed show for you. We'll give you the rundown, tell you how this is going to work, set you up. And we encourage you to stick with us and participate in the show over the next hour or so. So tonight, jam-packed show, as I mentioned, we will welcome in our hobby insider, Joe Wysmierski out of Pheonix Sports Cards, and we'll get into all the news that's fit to print or share on social media with Joe. He's got December card release updates for you. Perhaps we'll get into the eBay sports card price guide that they recently launched. It's a comprehensive pricing tool that that combines about 2 years of information together. Let us know if you've used that in the comments section, what you think about it, as well as any of your other thoughts. You can interact with the show regardless of where you're watching, and we encourage you to do so. If you have questions for us, for our hobby insiders, for our guests, please drop those comments in your section, and we will post them and participate along with us in the show. Moving along, we will talk about the Greater Cleveland Hall of Fame Museum and induction ceremony that took place last Tuesday night. Some really cool insight to share from the proceedings there. And we'll get into Card Show Live with Steve himself. We've got shows all over the country. We bring you the hottest shows and ones you should attend if you're in that part of the country, or if you like traveling to shows. We want to highlight those for you every week. So we're going to go from Grand Rapids to Cincinnati to Kirtland, Ohio. And of course, there's a big show in Philly coming up. Our guest this evening is Samuel Evans, aka the Sports Card Collector. Hashtag the hobby experience is where you may know the Samuel Evans. And we'll look forward to talking about his hobby journey and his history and his insight. So as I said, a jam-packed show to get to. So without further ado, let's go ahead and welcome in the man himself, Steve Greenberg, aka Greeny. Welcome to your show, Greeny Sports Cards Live.
Thanks, Jeremy. And another Tuesday in Cleveland, Ohio. And Man, another weekend of Cleveland sports that we had. I understand it's a national show, but Cleveland sports is always something on the national feed, especially when we run through quarterbacks. Maybe not nearly as much as the Indianapolis Colts right now, but Shedeur Sanders had himself a heck of a game, and his cards have actually taken off in the last couple of days.
Yeah, it's remarkable. Greeny, sports talk in Cleveland is undefeated. I've heard Stephen A. Smith commenting about it on ESPN recently. There's a proud history here. Our teams may not win, but there's always something interesting to talk about. That is for sure. Speaking of interesting, we want to tell everybody about sport card auctions and sports card consignments. Dave and his team are great supporters of this show, as are all our sponsors. We can't do this without them. And if you are looking to turn your card collection into serious cash, make sure you head over to sportcardauctions.com. They'll make it simple for you. They've got professional authentication, auction services, and sport card. Their expert team will just handle everything for you, from photography to listing. They've got over 15 years of experience, and they make it easy. Greeny, I know you use them yourself, and it's pretty efficient.
I do. I've won a card last week. Can't remember exactly what, but I know I won a few things in their auctions of stuff that I didn't submit, because we know from last 2 weeks ago, you can't defensive bid on your own cards. We'll get into that. We'll talk to Joe and Samuel a little bit later, but it is, they do a fantastic job, and it's actually right in their description. You can't bid on your own cards, right? And why would I? I give my cards to them because I want them gone. Jeremy, I certainly don't want to win them back. So, yeah.
So, yeah, we touched on the shilling a little bit last week, and we'll get into that and more. Speaking of auctions, make sure you stick around at 9 p.m. tonight. Come back for the eBay Live auction with Alex Schott, our auctioneer extraordinaire. Alex goes live 9 p.m. Eastern every Tuesday and Thursday. He's got baseball, basketball, football, all kinds of cards. And you drive the show just as you do on this platform as well. If there's a topic you're interested in or a card you want to see or a sport or a player, let Alex know and he'll get to that as well. So, Greeny, a couple other quick highlights from the hobby world I want to touch on. We of course are presented by Collectibles on SI. You can head over to si.com/collectibles. It's where I get pretty much all my news. It's a trusted source. Of course, the headlines this week, tickets for the National, the 46 National have gone on sale, so you can check those out. And you can see the other news there, the Snipe with Probstein and the Livy Dunn card that came out from Allen and Ginter, and Tom Brady news as usual, both in the card world and his recent opening of a shop. So lots to cover there. Collectibles on SI /collectibles. And we'll get into more hobby news with Joe in a little bit. For the time being, Greeny, you mentioned sports in Cleveland, sports talk in Cleveland. Had the very surreal and fortunate opportunity last Tuesday to attend the dedication of the Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame, and they inducted their 25th or 2025 annual class. And it came along with the dedication of an actual brick and mortar museum, more than 50 years in the making. We want to give you a little bit of perspective on this from our guy, Drew Donovan, did a tremendous job covering that event, capturing it, editing these videos together. We'll give you a little bit of sense of the museum itself, a little bit of an insight into the inductions, which included headliners like Stipe Miocic and Chris Spielman and Tianna Madison. And we'll talk about that a little bit before we get into hobby news. Greeny, I mentioned it was pretty surreal. It was a very personal experience on Tuesday. As you know, I don't talk about this stuff a lot. You're very familiar with it. I'm very proud of the legacy, of which I'm continuing to embrace, particularly after the passing of my father in 2021. It's not something I always talked about or bragged about, but my great uncle Sam, Les Levine's Uncle Sam, conceptualized the idea in 1975 as a part of the Bicentennial Committee. He came up with an idea to create a Hall of Fame honoring the people from Cleveland, Ohio, that participated in sports, and subsequently that idea was embraced, and he was named the chairman and the first president of the Hall of Fame, establishing that organization as a nonprofit. They have gone on to induct over 540 athletes across 30 plus sports. And it's a who's who of names in Cleveland sports. And there's a list of qualifications, which generally include you were either born in a 7-county area, you played here collegiately or professionally, and then made your home here in your residence in Northeast Ohio. And it's just been remarkable. Sam was inducted. My great uncle Sam is a member of the Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame. My father, Les Levine, after a 50-year broadcasting career, was inducted into the Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame. It was Sam's vision initially, and he was quoted as saying, Greater Cleveland has a lot of great athletes we want the whole country to know about. Our goal is to one day build a museum of our own where the achievements of the sports greats can be shared in perpetuity. And Sam said that June 25th, 1978. And on Tuesday night, the brick and mortar museum was unveiled to much fanfare, along with the induction class. This year, that included Jack Turbin for meritorious service, Wanda Ford in basketball, Olympian, 3-time Olympian Tianna Madison, UFC heavyweight champion Stipe Miocic, Chris Spielman, former Buckeye and Detroit Lion, Buffalo Bill, and Cleveland Brown for a very brief moment. It really was a remarkable evening, Greeny. I'll give a little bit of insight into the inductions ceremony themselves, and then we'll come back and talk about it on the flip side.
I just want to say what an incredible honor it is for me to be inducted into the Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame.
To the greater Cleveland community, thank you for showing me that greatness can come from right here. From right here in this room, from us.
If I wouldn't have gotten know where I was at, if it wasn't for these people standing right here at this table, like sitting right there, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be where I'm at today.
Jeremy,
special
Drew did
evening.
a terrific job with that.
He really did.
He really did. Yeah, and those you don't know, when he hasn't been on our show, we should have him on just to show him sometime. But Drew is one of our videographers and photographers, and does a lot for us, and has really been with us since the beginning. But he does a terrific job capturing footage, and we just let him go and do his thing, and it comes out terrific.
Yeah, I was really proud of him. He's grown in this business as well. Did a tremendous job. It really was unbelievable, Greeny. Just I got chills sitting there. It was really amazing to kind of be a part of that. 2026 will mark 89 consecutive years with a Levine in sports media in Cleveland, Ohio, including my participation in my day job and what we do here. And it was really cool. A couple quick highlights for you. Wanda Ford may still be actually speaking. She might wrap up about next year. But she was awesome. She, as we found out, was probably statistically a better player than Cheryl Miller. Coincidentally, she still holds a record for career rebounds in college. Jack Turbin for meritorious service. I just want to mention a shout out to Jack because the physical manifestation of this museum would not have taken place without his contributions, both financially and from a vision standpoint. Of course, Bob DiBiasio, Bobby D, president of the hall, Jack Herrick, or John Herrick, whose father Jack was longtime president and is an inductee, John Telich, JT, and their committee led by Tom Hablitzel, who really got that hall going. And it's going to be a living museum and have people all over. Stipe Miocic called me sir twice that evening. I'm not sure what to do with that from a man who could literally punch a hole through my face, but I appreciated that. Yeah, it was really cool. Tianna Madison said something, Greeny, that really resonated with me about the spirit of Cleveland athletes and people who come from here. She's a 3-time gold medal winning Olympian. And one of the stories she told was about getting ready for one of the Olympic races. And it was chilly. It was a cold Olympic day for that race. And there were competitors from all over the world and Europeans complaining we shouldn't have to run. How can we compete in this weather? And she pretty much said, this is just like another Tuesday in Cleveland, and had the right mindset going on. And there's something about the weather in this town that makes people just work that much harder and things that they have to deal with here. You're talking about a LeBron James coming out of this area, a Stipe Miocic, a Jesse Owens, Jim Brown played here, and it creates and fashions athletes and mentalities that's pretty special. And so only in Cleveland do we get to talk about some of this interesting stuff and be a part of it. So congratulations to all of them. It was remarkable. The development in that area at West 47th and Lorraine Avenue is staggering. I had no idea the depth and breadth of the investment in that area, which includes the community school, the urban community school, which the museum is attached to, the Roundstone Athletic Center. It's a part of a baseball field in the inner city that the Dolan family of the Guardians recently installed. There's a new soccer field complex. There's a lacrosse complex. The Urban Squash Center is there, led by Jack Turbin and his team. And so it's just been a remarkable development. And Greeny, I'm very proud to have been a part of it and continue the legacy here in Cleveland. So
listen, when people say, well, what does that have to do with the hobby news? The amount of collectibles that they have of game and when I say event worn, it's a totally different than cards event worn, because track and field, those are events, they're not called games, right? So the event in the actual memorabilia that they have is pretty fascinating. And I think we'll head back down there one time and we'll actually go through some of that memorabilia, and maybe Bobby D will walk us around and we can have a good conversation about some of the really cool memorabilia that they have down there.
Yeah, it's pretty special. And that is the collectible connection and the memorabilia and the one of a kind, one of one treasures that have been to the top of the proverbial mountain. So again, our thanks to the Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame, its committee led by John Herrick and Bob DiBiasio and John Telich. And it really is a community effort. Our friends George and Greg Velasic from GV Art did the big mural. There's multiple murals in that space, and so there's a connection there. We've had them on the show, of course, and just really encourage, if you're in the Cleveland area, get down there and check it out. There is one of a kind memorabilia and one of a kind memories. So
before we go, speaking of Hall of Fames, Jeremy, Paul Hoynes of the Cleveland Plain Dealer made it into the Baseball Hall of Fame for the Baseball Writers Association. And what a tremendous honor. We've had a lot of great writers, a lot of great sportscasters here in Cleveland as well. For
sure. And he follows Tom Hamilton into the Hall of Fame. He follows Hal Lebovitz, longtime sports writer here in Cleveland. And in the museum itself, coincidentally, Greeny, there is a section on Hall of Famers in the media. And you're talking about the Robert Smiths of the world and Tom Jackson and Desmond Howard and, of course, Tom Hamilton and And there's been a lot of talent to come out of this area. So with that, so let's get to hobby news with our resident hobby expert, Joe Wysmierski. And we'll go all the way out to Phoenix, Arizona, and say good evening, Joe.
Thank you. When you were talking about Hall of Fame talent coming out of the area, that also included the Akron area, right? So I'm glad I could be here on the show, which is fantastic. And you were making a lot of mention about memorabilia. I know someone here who loves memorabilia, Uncle Memorabilia out here at our shop. So
a lot of bowling pins.
It'd be excited to see all that stuff. So very cool. That's a cool mention. Also, to kind of piggyback on your segue there too, I gotta let you know I'm a little bummed with the Hall of Fame, the Baseball Hall of Fame selection of just Jeff Kent.
We could go on. This is only an hour show.
Okay.
But
I just had to say it. I know everyone's thinking it, but I had to say it.
Everybody's thinking it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't he play in Cleveland for a week?
He sure did.
He played on the 97 World Series team, I think.
Here you
Wish
go.
We had him 5 years ago.
My quick Hall of Fame hot take, right? So the baseball writers have a big they have a big they do a lot of heavy lifting when it comes to voting, right? For that. So they don't have a job without Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire's home run race in 97, right? Like, I really think building that sport back up, and it's so funny that those guys aren't getting any love, or like even making a segment to having that portion of just awarding that race alone, like reviving baseball. Like, it's crazy. So
the all-time hits leader, the most Cy Youngs, and the home run king are not in the Hall of Fame.
Correct. That is correct. So we'll save that.
You can still collect their cards. So
you can, and as Greeny knows for sure, some of those Barry Bonds inserts are they're fantastic. And I've learned firsthand from the man here himself, like seeing that kind of stuff and learning what to look for, especially when it walks into a shop like ours. So these guys, even though they don't have that that dignification next to them of being a Hall of Famer, like, these guys are highly collectible still, and in a lot of fans' eyes are more than deserving. We also had this debate too about they had come out and said post-mortem, like Pete Rose and Shoeless Joe. I guess that's going to be for next year, not for 2026, but they would be eligible post-mortem for 2027. So what was your thoughts on that, Steve?
If you're going to put Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame, do it when he was alive. Let him enjoy it for a minute. I mean, I get what he did. I get, and there we are. Again, it's an hour show, and we can do that. It's time to put him in the Hall of Fame, right? It's also time to put Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens. I mean, David Ortiz is in the Hall of Fame, right?
Hey, I'm also a huge proponent, and he got popped twice for it. But Manny Ramirez, like, dude, Manny's a Hall of Famer. He really, truly is a Hall of Famer.
So is Albert Bell.
Don't call me Joey. But yes, his bumper could be in the Hall of Fame too for trick-or-treaters. The other thing, when we talk about Hall of Fame, pretty interesting, Phillip Rivers coming back and now delays for 5 years, right? So I don't know if we'll see.
Not yet. He's got to get onto the active roster.
Well, sure.
So,
but maybe a great opportunity for a Topps Now card. Maybe,
of course,
maybe the comeback card. Like,
of course,
we could see something coming back out. But yes, he was signed to the practice squad, so potentially him coming back. Hasn't seen the field since 2020. It is kind of crazy though, because he was a finalist alongside of Drew Brees. I mean, he would have had to, taken over that and Eli Manning's still on that ballot too. But he does reset the clock though, potentially with coming out of retirement for the Hall of Fame. So pretty interesting to see a guy with 60,000 passing yards taking another swing at it.
What does that tell you about Anthony Richardson and his cards? Are they done? Is he done?
Steve, this is Coach Joe coming out now.
Please.
when you are in that role as a quarterback, regardless if you have the traits of leadership or not, right? Like you have to be willing to be out there and put yourself out there. You can't say that you're tired. I it's hard for me to say this, but I know James will love this when he's watching it. But if you want to see someone who stepped up to the plate last night on Monday Night Football, Justin Herbert, broken hand, out there just going after it with his team. Even in the post game, he didn't even want to talk to a reporter. He was like, "Hey, I
No,
just
he
want to go
didn't.
celebrate with my team." And all of the guys echoed the same thing. This guy, they're like, number 10 went out and battled. He literally had surgery on his hand this past week and then went out and played in Monday Night Football. So, um, to your question about Anthony Richardson, like, I don't know. I don't know, but you also don't hear anyone clamoring for him to get a shot to come back either, which is kind of scary.
Well, it says he's done in Indianapolis. Somebody will give him a shot, but he's obviously done in Indianapolis.
Yeah. Well,
Hey, Joe,
you know what?
I mentioned December releases before,
Yeah.
and you may touch on some of them, but is there release fatigue at some point? Will collectors get overwhelmed by this constant stream of releases, or in your opinion, does it keep the hobby fresh?
Yes, to all the above.
Good answer.
There is release fatigue for sure. I will tell you from the shop side of it, it can be tough when, I mean, from a customer standpoint, you have customers that are just sports specific or team specific, or they're a product specific, but a shop has to take on all of that, right? So that can be really tough to have multiple titles across multiple genres. But we could do a better job of spacing it out. Now, what Pheonix has informed us in Tops, what they said they'd like to do is have releases throughout the week. So it was historically a Wednesday, Friday release day, but now they're going to have things that release on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But Tops has done a great job too getting that product available into the hands of consumers. So in some instances, Tops Fanatics, they will drop a product on their website for pre-order prior to it being offered to a hobby shop. And that's really how they kind of gauge interest too. So in my opinion, I think that is kind of what happened with the Topps Chrome Jumbo basketball, because it doesn't seem like that was widely offered to every breaker and every hobby shop. But everyone did have an opportunity, direct to consumer, to go on there and get a jumbo box before they ran out. And then they also did their first edition or first press, whatever they're calling that. They did that reverse Dutch auction, or the Dutch auction, this last week, where the floor hit, I think it was like $1,750 for a first edition jumbo box of Topps Chrome.
Crazy.
That's a lot of money. Yeah.
It is a lot of money.
3 autos,
So
right?
what is coming out, and what should people be looking for, in your opinion?
So we are still trying to tie a bow on 2025 baseball. Update Chrome comes out tomorrow. This is on the heels of a new product that came out last week, Allen and Ginter, which is still trucking along. Allen and Ginter has historically, that is a great product to sit up on the shelves because it appeals to everyone, because you can get so many different and random items in Allen and Ginter. What you're seeing right there, Libby Dunn autos, that was a huge focus in Allen and Ginter. You can get entertainment autos, you can get dinosaur teeth, you can get pieces of a piano, you can get the little tobacco cards. So there's a lot in Allen and Ginter, but the big hype this week is all about Topps Chrome update. And why, Jeremy? It's because of the debut patch. The MLB debut patch, it is the patch that is on these players the very moment that they step onto the field and they are part of the starting lineup for their first ever Major League Baseball game. Uh, it signifies a lot of history for each one of these players, and it's very, very sought after. More times than not, it comes in the form of a redemption because they want to ensure that this card is delivered properly and it's not being dinged up by bouncing around in a box or anything like that. So I know personally it was just released today. Backyard Breaks. They're trying to tie something to the Nick Kurtz debut patch where I believe they're giving away a Ferrari to the person who hits it. That's wild. If it's hit in their break, you have potentially you can get a Ferrari. So
My God.
it's wild. It's absolutely wild. But this still builds up, like Steve, and again, this builds up to another Chrome product in Topps Chrome Basketball that releases next week. And Jeremy, to your point of fatigue for the customers and the shops, I mean, these products are wildly expensive. And when they've come out, they came out and they're pretty pricey. But like Topps Chrome Basketball, a jumbo box, I believe it was offered on the website for $700 or just about there. It is reselling for $1,300 as a pre-order on eBay. That's wild. So you're putting all this together with the holiday season and people buying. It's a bold move. We'll see if it pays off.
It will.
All right, Joe, we can, I could talk to you all day, but we can also find you tomorrow. So if people want to hear more and more of your opinion, where can they find you on Wednesdays?
Yep, I will be on Sports Cards Nonsense YouTube page on Cut the Nonsense. And then you can find me at Pheonix Sports Cards on 59th and Thunderbird, or on Instagram at PheonixSportsCards.com. I also wanted to say to both of you, I don't believe that we actually lost that Big Ten game, okay? Hear me out. It was a short field goal that we missed, but we're on the opposite side of the bracket. We have a little bit different path. I know we don't get that easy James Madison or, you know, that potential, but I mean, I hear me out. I don't think that us going down to Texas or playing in the Cotton Bowl is going to be a problem. Buckeyes all the way. We're reigning and defending national champions.
OH.
There you go. There's a roadmap from last year. So
thanks, Joe.
Just excited to see them play some more.
Thank you, guys.
See ya.
Thanks, Joe. Our thanks to Joe Wysmierski from Pheonix Card Shop, Pheonix Sports Cards, joining us every week with hobby news. Greeny, we want to keep it rolling because we're looking forward to talking to Samuel Evans here coming up. We're going to get into Card Show Live, where we'll preview the hottest card shows of the week.
Welcome on into this edition of Card Show Live. This week we have 5 top shows that we wanted to go over, and no particular order, but the first one is the Kirtland Card Show, which, Jeremy, everybody knows your name. That is this Saturday, the 13th, sold out, 40 tables in historic Kirtland, Ohio, where they did just win state championships, the football team, the Kirtland. So we'll be celebrating that there. There's 40 tables of sports, Pokemon. There'll be some wax boxes to open up, and just a really fun family atmosphere that we've been doing for a bunch of years there in just little old Kirtland, Ohio. We bring a lot of people there. So that is number 1 on our list. Kirtland, Ohio, December 13th, the Kirtland Card Show. The second one is the Philly Card Show, and this one is an absolute monster. I heard there's going to be 1,000 tables at this show. Paul Kutch and his guys, they do a terrific job. They bring in vendors from all over the country, but their autograph lineup is always terrific. So you're going to want to go on their website if you're there for autographs. It's very Philly dominated, but you know, if you're a Philly fan, you know the history of their sports there, and maybe they'll even bring Santa Claus and maybe cheer him at this event this time. But the Philly show is at the Greater Philly Expo. It is Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And rumor has it there's 1,000 tables. So I would start driving now if you want to head to Philly. Number 3, this is a new one, but this is kind of an older show. Legend Sports and Game Events Center. Lou Brown. This card show is in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And if anybody's been around this industry for a long time, you've heard the name Lou Brown. Lou Brown Cards has always been SCD promoted. You know, he advertised for years and years. If you go to the
He was the manager of the Cleveland Indians in Major League, if I'm not mistaken.
That's the same. Yeah, same Lou Brown. If you go to the Chicago Sports Spectacular, his display is always by the back bathroom, so you always go by his tables. But they do this show every month in Grand Rapids. It's 100 tables. It's Saturday, December 13th, the Legends Sports and Games Event Center. Check that out. And number 4, we have a local show here in Cleveland, the Sheffield Lake Card Show, Jeremy, which I'm not 100% sure, but I would say 99% sure it is the longest consecutively run show in Northeast Ohio by more than one people. So this is Joe and Kim Santoro. They run this show now. It's got to be going on nearly 30 years, this show. It's at the little Joyce A. Hanks Center in Sheffield Lake. It's right on the lake. So if you even see that picture, you could kind of see where the light's coming in from a window. That you look out that window and you can see Lake Erie. It's right there. So pretty cool show. It's pretty small. It's like 25 tables, but they do a tremendous job there. Kim runs a concession stand. The hot dogs are great. So check out the Sheffield Card Show. It's always on the second Sunday of every month. So Sunday the 14th, that show is happening. And then the number 5 show on our list is the American Legion show down in Cincinnati. Jonathan O'Connor, who runs the Ohio Sports Card and whatever the name is, your Ohio Sports Card Trade Show. There's like 20,000 people in that group, but it's
a social media platform. Yep.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest groups on Facebook for card shows. But that show is Sunday the 14th. It's 50 tables. It's been going on for years. Cincinnati is a hotbed for cards, so they have several shows, but this is one of the longest running and one of the most important shows in Cincinnati. So those are our top 5 shows this week.
There you have it. You got huge shows, medium shows, and small shows for your collecting pleasure this week. Greeny, this show, which we've been doing for about 2 years now, every Tuesday night, consistently, cannot be done without the support of our sponsors. We appreciate that. And one of those is Giannino's. So if you are in the Ohio area, make sure you check out Giannino's Pizzeria.
Hey, you. Yeah, you. I'm a year older now, so Mommy can give me Giannino's pizza. Hey, whoever thought of making a great tasting Giannino's pizza with all these fresh ingredients? They gotta be some kind of genius. More, Mommy.
Every Giannino's pizza is made with fresh dough, delicious tomato sauce without additives or preservatives, and fresh provolone cheese shredded daily. For a location near you, go to Gianninos.com.
You want a piece of me?
Greeny, our special guest this evening, Samuel Evans, is known across the sports card community as the Sports Card Collector, and we'll get that spelling up for you, but the Sports Card Collector. He's the voice behind hashtag the hobby experience, a passionate collector, educator, historian, and storyteller. Samuel has built a reputation as a positive force in the hobby, blending his background in education and his love for sports memorabilia. His writing has been featured in Topps Ripped and North End Agents. He's a regular on sports podcasts, including tonight's show of Greeny Sports Card Live, and it is our pleasure to welcome in Samuel Evans.
How's everybody doing?
Doing well, man. How are you?
I'm doing good. I can't complain. First and foremost, thank you for having me on. Greatly appreciate you, welcoming me to your platform so I can share my story. It's awesome, when you get these opportunities to do stuff like this. So, it's cool. So I really appreciate you all.
Yeah, and you've been doing this a while. I didn't get a chance to talk to you at the National because that week is so crazy.
I was busy. It's busy.
But
I was doing a lot of cool projects for the National myself. So
you were up on the stage during the Tuesday night was the welcome for all the vendors. Yeah. And then one of the interviews you did with our friend Lonnie, we caught that on Unbreakable Sports Cards and
TK, that's my guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Mr. Unbreakable, he has, I often tell people that the great thing about the hobby, like collections create like these very unique stories. And he has a very unique collection, and it just tells a lot about who he is. And I tell people, like, he probably has the like top 5% collection in the world, in my opinion. Just some of the cards that I've seen in his collection, and just his passion for collecting and his unique story. So it was cool to learn TK's story at the national and just unpack the layers of how he got into the hobby. I had an amazing time just learning from him and hearing the story and his connection to, Greenie, because we mentioned that, and Jeremy's father. So that was awesome.
Yeah, it's a small world, Samuel. The Big Show, Lonnie and I grew up 2 houses away from each other. He was on the opposite side of the street. We grew up collecting and playing G.I. Joe and Transformers and all those things. And Greenie was on the street about probably, I don't know, 7 houses away, Greenie, 8 houses away for a little bit of that time. So yeah, it's pretty cool. But you mentioned your journey, Greenie. Let's get into that.
Mm-hmm.
Had a couple questions as far as Samuel's journey.
Yeah. So take us back to the beginning. We all have a certain story where, I opened packs with my dad. How did you get started in the sports card hobby?
It's funny you asked that story because, that's a part of my project with the National, unpacking like cardboard origin stories from, the collectors that I know and collectors that I don't know. And, I have a like traditional, typical like cardboard origin story, where, I'm snooping around my brother's bedroom and, open up his sneaker box and there it is. He has all these amazing cards. And, there's Bo Jackson, there's Michael Jordan, there's Deion Sanders, all these amazing players. And I'm like, what are these pieces of cardboard? And I was just so fascinated with them. And then when I got caught, my brother was pretty much mad at me because, he didn't want me messing up his cards. And, I could remember my very first memory of when I got my first pack of cards was going to Toys R Us with my mom. And, during that time when you walk through Toys R Us, you got to make it through all the toys. And then there was the card section. And it was just the one section in the store. And there was this big cash register, the whole desk and panel. And then behind it was just nothing but, heaven of all types of cards and collectibles. And, I got my first pack of baseball cards and, as a 7-8-year-old, and I collected until I was about 12, 13. And I threw away all my cards because I had a lot going on in my life at the time, growing up in North Philly. And I just always told myself that, I couldn't articulate it then as a 12, 13-year-old throwing away, all my cards that didn't worth any money. But I always told myself throughout the years that if I had the chance to get back into collecting, I would. And, boom, we hit the global pandemic and with everything going on in the world and, all the civil unrest at the time and everything that was happening, I needed an escape. And, I went up into my spare bedroom in my house and I found my old 3-ring binder of cards and some baseball packs, 1992, 93 Don Russ baseball packs that I bought at a flea market. And the magic came back. And, 5 years later, I'm still in it. And just really trying to refine, who I want to be as a collector, because I started out with this idea of I'm going to sell cards and make a whole ton of money. And then I quickly learned I need to learn this new landscape of collecting because it's been over 20 years. And, with social media and being a first generation social media, consumer, I was a part of the first group of college kids who got Facebook. That's where I went back and got my schooling of what the hobby was today in this 21st century. And it was totally different from when I collected as a kid. And taking the time to just learn the hobby. I was like, yeah, I don't want to sell cards. This isn't me. And I just took the time to think back to my moments in North Philly, you know, my 5 to 10 block radius, growing up with collectors all in my neighborhood, and then going to Penn Treaty, getting bused to Penn Treaty, where we were bused into a white neighborhood in a predominantly white middle school. And, you know, the ecosystem that we created there with those collectors. And I said, this is what I need to be doing. And the hobby experience was born during the time where everybody was talking about the hobby boom and how much cards are worth, and millions of dollars are being spent on, you know, modern cards. And, you know, people are unearthing these cards from the 90s and the Michael Jordan rookies and everything. And I just want to tell the story of collecting, and you know, the hobby experience is me, you, and us. And that's what I've been doing ever since.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And I know you want to ask this, but I wanted to follow up with that, because you talk about the monetary thing and finding these $1 million cards and the $1,000 cards, but really the hobby doesn't have to revolve around that, right? Like, you can collect whoever it is that you like. You said in North Philly, you can collect people like Jeremy just talked about the Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame. There's people that can collect guys that are in that Hall of Fame, and we're not talking hundreds and thousands of dollars of cards, right? You know, so you can collect what you like and you can spend what you want. And that's kind of why I like your hashtag, the hobby experience, because it doesn't have to always revolve around thousands of dollars, right?
Yes. And for me, I've always told people this, and even for my articles that I wrote for Hobby News Daily, I always told people this: the true wealth, and what I call like the human capital of the hobby. The true wealth is this, like what we're doing right now, right? You know, I'm from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. You guys are from, you know, Cleveland and Ohio, and you know, I got some roots out in Youngstown. That's where a lot of my relatives are from, and like, this cultivation of storytelling and ideas and sharing of passions, and like, that's the wealth, because through these connections I can learn more about Jeremy, I can learn more about you, Greeny, and how you collect, and that might inspire me to let me go down that avenue and explore more through your collecting point of view, and how can it enrich my experience as a collector. And you know, that's why the programs and all the partnerships that I do with the Philly show and the National, it's very personal to me, because it allows me to continue to tell the story of what the hobby experience is, but also create space for collectors to also tell their story. Because I think oftentimes we find ourselves in this just cycle where certain people are just dominating the conversation, and those meaningful stories just get lost in the hype. You know, I try my best to create space for everyone, and say your story in the hobby matters. And now I want to learn more from you. So that's what I do, and that's just been my mission, and the programs and everything that, you know, I've been, you know, creating and working on for the past, I want to say, 2 years, and to see them come to fruition at the, you know, the National in Chicago was just magical. And we had a lot of fun.
It's been my favorite part of what we've done here is the long form storytelling. There's plenty of people out there breaking and yelling and screaming and trying to hit cards, and there's plenty of people debating.
And that's great. Like, that's great. That's like, fine. That's your thing.
Totally
like,
fine.
I celebrate that. I acknowledge it. I think it makes the hobby, it welcomes the hobby, and it modernizes the hobby, you know, and I think there's a space and place for that.
all that.
But I don't think it should be the only thing, you know. So
that's right. And so we've created here, or what we've sought out to do is very similar, is the long form storytelling, and the favorite part of that has been the connections across the country and the people we're meeting, and being able to tell stories about show producers and enthusiasts and influencers. So talk a little bit about the hobby experience, and from a community impact standpoint, you've been able to reach a lot of people. Talk about that evolution as well, and how important that is.
Yeah, so the evolution of it first started with me trying to figure out how did I want to define my cardboard experience, and what did I want it to look like, feel like, and sound like? And like I said, I went back to my roots. I went back to Pentreaty, Letlow, these spaces where we cultivated this organic ecosystem of collectors and collecting. And we didn't have access to card stores, card shows. I had no idea those things existed in the 90s, but we created this unique space. And I wanted to go back into that and bring that to the here and now. And, through the various programs of, exposing students to collecting, through entrepreneurship, through product pitching and design and storytelling and sustainability. It's just been super fun to see people who want to like tap into that and take a break from the noise, because sometimes the noise it creates clicks, and I guess it's cool, but for me, I'm just on it. I'm on my own unique path, and I welcome everybody who want to be a part of it. And the evolution of it now is just like, as I continue to tell my story, how can I involve others in it? And it's just not a Sam thing. It's not a sports card collector thing. It's an everybody thing. And I just try to stay true to that, especially when I'm at shows, and telling the story of certain card shows. Like, who are the collectors walking around the room? And how can I bring their stories to the forefront and get them to share their hobby experience and get people to like buy into that and step into that in the most authentic way.
Yeah, what I love about things like that is, over the last couple weeks, we've had all these negative things, right? The shill bidding, and now PSA with the buyback and regrading cards. But that's really not what this hobby is about. I mean, those things get pushed out on social media so much, and it's really such a small part. There's really so many good things about this hobby, and I think we need to concentrate sometimes more on talking about that than all of the negative things.
I often say, in a world full of division, the hobby is the one space where people from different backgrounds and all walks of life can come together and sit around a table or talk on FaceTime or Zoom about a piece of cardboard and garner these nostalgic moments and these stories, whether it be telling a story about the first time I opened up a pack with my father or my brother, or going to my first card show and bringing my children to their first card show so they can experience that, and like listening to others. Like, that is just so unique, and I think that niche needs to be explored more, because sometimes we get caught up into like these viral moments, and like, how can I get the hottest 60 seconds on Instagram or TikTok and everything. And for me, it's just always been about like storytelling. How can I tell the most unique story in the most authentic way to get people to come back and say, hey, I want to learn more about that. What does part 2 look like? So right now I'm in a process, I'm closing out the 2025 hobby season, with my weekly, cardboard show. And, I'm about to start writing part 4 of my first national experience. I went to my first national in Cleveland, and it was amazing. I felt like a kid in a candy store. And, at the time I'm 41 years old, and I'm having just as much fun as the kids who are 11 and 12 years old. And that's the thing about the hobby, it doesn't have an age limit. And I always tell people, if you go into a show and you see an old timer sitting at the table still trying to finish that set, take the time to stop and say, hey, tell me about this story. Why this set? Why this particular set? What drew you to this set? And if you see a kid and it's their first time at a card show, ask them what they're interested in, what their aspirations are for collecting, what PC card are they trying to find, and help them, navigate that. And I just think the hobby is this unique bridge of generations, backgrounds, and experiences. And I think it's very important that we maintain that and we keep that at the forefront you know, and again, the hype is good. I think it's awesome for someone to find a beautiful card and being able to reap the monetary reward of that to make a huge amount of money, because that creates generational wealth. And we also need to think about, how do we sustain the hobby, because that can't be forever. You know what I mean? So how do we go back to the roots of collecting, of these moments, of these experiences, and as opposed to saying, you know, I got to make a decision whether I want to buy a pack of cards that's like $700 versus to like, I want to get groceries in my house. So, you know what I mean? Or pay rent. And I'm fortunate enough, like, I don't have to like do that, you know, because of, you know, what I do as an educator. I'm a building principal, but there's a lot of people out there who still want to experience the hobby. And we have to, you know, charge organizations with the responsibility of like thinking about those people, that they should still have their space, and making it still affordable for them. And then, you know, and oftentimes I tend to stay away from the industry side of things, but I do understand that it's a business. And that's what I learned a lot about the hobby when I got back in. And that's what I'm also talking to the children in Chicago about, that we do our program, is like, yes, you can make a living doing this, and you have to be smart about it. And you have to understand how markets work. And like the hobby is up and down. So you do have to be smart about it. But you know, I often think like we often find ourselves in this like war of like, who's priced in, who's priced out, and like, how do we sustain that and fix that?
Yeah, it was my understanding
most
there
appropriate
would
way.
be no math.
Yeah.
Sam, before we let you go, because we're up against the hour here, and we'd love to have you back and continue the conversation for sure. I don't want to put you on the spot and do the old, what's your favorite card, or what, you know, you say every card tells a story. I'm not going to ask you that.
Yes.
But when I say every card tells a story, from your personal collection, what is one or two that do come to mind, that instantly come to mind as a story behind it?
Everybody who knows me, I'm a huge Wilt Chamberlain collector. And, you know, I've just, growing up in Philadelphia, I've always had this fascination about Wilt Chamberlain. And there's also a personal connection, because there was a time when my mother was working at a school, and her and Wilt Chamberlain's sister actually worked together as like aides in the school. And I actually had the opportunity to meet her, and I learned so much about his life and just those personal moments. And she looks just like Wilt Chamberlain, but like the woman version, you know what I mean? And like, you know, I've always, you know, when I got back into the hobby, one of my, you know, things was to build up my Wilt PC. And, you know, I'm grateful to have his rookie card. I think it's, in my opinion, it's the most iconic rookie card ever produced. Probably one of the best basketball sets overall. You know, I know everybody clamors over the 52 tops and, you know, the 86, 87 Flair, and, you know, some of those iconic years of, you know, the Magic and Bird rookie cards and everything. But there's something about that 61, 62 Flair set that's just special. And, you know, I have the in action and the portrait. So, you know, I always say I want to live a long life, but if God saw fit to take me away, I don't know if I'm gonna let my children have my Wilt Chamberlain rookies. Those two are special for me.
Wilt Chamberlain is in one of the class of memorabilia cards that I won't sell, because his jersey, they're never going to cut up another one. They're just too expensive.
No, he's one of the modern marbles of the world. You know, you'll never find another player like him. And I know they make the Wemby comparisons at time because of how he blocks shots and plays defense, but two totally different players.
Absolutely.
Well, Sam, we can't thank you enough for joining us this evening. Let everybody know where they can find you on socials and out in the world.
Yeah. Well, as I always say, you know, I am on Instagram. That's my main point of view. That's the only one I really have time for, because, like I said, I'm a building principal, and that's my first passion. Cards is like therapy for me. It's my escape, so I love doing it every day. But you can find me on Instagram as the Sports Card Collector. That's where I do all my posts and write my articles and share my stories around collecting. And I always say this, and I've been saying this from day one, you know, don't follow me, but I encourage everybody to follow the hobby experience. And also attach your collecting experience to that hobby experience, that hashtag. Because I think everybody, as they explore the hobby, especially for our new collectors who are going to be coming into this space, they need to be presented with the good of the hobby and the great things that this hobby can do for you in terms of being a part of a community, a thriving community.
That was awesome. We appreciate it. We hope to run into you soon. Definitely in Chicago, but maybe somewhere before that as well.
Well, I will be at the Philly show this weekend supporting the 50th anniversary of the Philly show. It's the longest running card show in America since 1975, I believe. And, you know, we did the show, the last show, and this show is going to be, you know, big. You know, and they're really going to rep the 50th anniversary and bring it to life. So I'm looking forward to those experiences and all the new collectors who are going to be exposed to the hobby.
There you go. Thank you, Sam. We appreciate you joining us tonight. That was awesome. We'd love to have Sam Evans back again and continue that conversation. Greeny, our thanks, of course, to Sam, to Joe Wysmierski of Pheonix Cards, Sports Cards. Thank you to the Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame for letting us be a part of that continued effort there. Thank you to Giannino's, to Sport Card Auctions, to Collectibles on SI and the Sports Cards Nonsense Network, and Haley behind the board, Drew Donovan for his contributions this week on the videos. And Greeny, most of all, thank you for allowing us to do this every week. We will be back next Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Join us at 9 p.m. for the eBay Live auction with Alex Schott and Greeny. May the cards forever be in your favor.
You said it. Have a good night, everybody.